Free audio post-production by alphonic.com.
Welcome to Take It from the Ironwoman. My name is Susannah Müller, your host and the Ironwoman. This podcast is about empowering yourself and others to make real changes in the world. You will hear from everyday, smart, sophisticated, hip people like you and me. Not everybody has to be an Ironwoman to impress the world. Together, we will learn from the sports and business leaders how you can become a more successful person as an entrepreneur or a leader. It's one step at a time, one day at a time. Take your steps now. Take your big steps now. Join me on this journey to success. Take It from the Ironwoman. We only have special guests, and today we go to Susannah Steers, and she is in Vancouver, Canada, and she is a owner of a Pilates studio. She has done a lot of things, dancing, Pilates. First, before we talk, we want to say thank you to Donna Gravata, who brought us together, and she's the lady who has 140 probably by now interviews of exciting, inspiring women, the real 50 over 50. So thank you, Donna. But now it's all about Susannah. Please introduce yourself and what can we learn from you today?
My name is Susannah Steers, and I have a small Pilates studio in North Vancouver called Moving Spirit Pilates. My team and I work really hard with people to help them move better, feel better moving in their bodies, and to learn an embodied way of being in the world. What that means to me is really bringing an awareness, a sensory awareness, an awareness of what's going on inside mentally, emotionally, physically, then being able to bring that awareness into relationship with what's going around us in the world. Mm-hmm. So it helps us become more aware of how we are and how we're interacting with other people, other things, other circumstances, other events. I find as an entrepreneur, I use that a lot. It helps me to lead. It helps me to manage my business. I really think that the best leaders are the ones who can lead themselves. And so if I can find ways to support myself better in every possible way, then I can apply that and all the energies that result from that better to my business as well.
I just say all of the above. I agree very much with you. When you're happy and healthy, you can move freely. That's when you also transfer that into the business as an entrepreneur. And I want to say as an entrepreneur, I think it's even more important because sometimes you're alone and you create a business and then you have a team, so it gets bigger. You're the role model. But you also need to be happy and healthy in order to communicate, lead others. It's a big job that you are doing here. So thank you so much. But tell us a little bit about your dancing career and then how that ended up into Pilates. What were pivotal moments? Or were you always moving as a child, or how did that happen? And then here we are in a Pilates studio in North Vancouver.
My family were always moving around. We didn't have any professional athletes per se in the family, but it was something we did. We were always playing outside. We were always doing things outside. My dad had been a sort of semi-pro football player. My football in the American-Canadian sense, not soccer. We went skiing. We went hiking. We went camping. My sister and I were competitive swimmers as kids. She more than I. It was something we did all the time. In my, early teens, maybe before my teens, I discovered dance, and absolutely it was captivating. It was everything I wanted to do. It was all I could think about. I was eating, breathing, sleeping it. And so spent a lot of time training in dance and training as a professional dancer, and then into the early stages of a performing career. It's arduous. I was a modern dancer. It's really hard to make a living in dance, in the arts in general, but in dance. And it costs a lot. Your body is your instrument. So you really do have to live, breathe, eat in order to be able to do what you're being asked to do by choreographers and companies. I loved it and still love it. with my whole heart. But I did reach a point in my mid-20s where I thought, I think I need another path, but I really had no idea what that was. I had been living and working in Eastern Central Canada and just decided I needed to change things up. My brother lived out here, so I thought I'll move to Vancouver and see what happens. So I did. I danced a little bit while I was out here, and I taught some dance while I was out here, and discovered Pilates, which was great for me in that my knees had become a mess over the years of mistreatment and rigors of dance. So Pilates really helped me. I had had pain in my knees for years, and all of the medical professionals basically said, well, you've
Welcome
spent a
to
lot
the
of
real
years.
world.
Yes, exactly, right? You've done a lot to your knees in a short time. You're just going to have to suck it up. I just couldn't fathom the idea that that was possible. So I found a place out here, a woman named Diane Miller, who was a great mentor of mine, who really helped me to turn things around. After a short while, I decided I wanted to study to become a teacher. This was still while I was figuring out what was going to happen post-performance, what my next step was going to be. At the time, Pilates just felt like a good middle option. I'll do this until I figure out what the next step is. But in the process, I realized, I can still work with bodies. I can still work with people. I can help them find a new vitality in their bodies. The problem-solving aspect for me was really challenging intellectually and realizing how every person needed a different kind of approach or a different focus or something new. It became a fascination for me, and it wasn't long before I realized this was my next thing. So then proceeded to study with other teachers, and not only of Pilates, but working with physiotherapists and osteopaths and therapists of various kinds, and consulting with all kinds of different people on movement problems and how best to support people in finding better movement and better capacity in their bodies. Here I am 30 odd years later, still doing it, still loving it. I have a team that is just incredible. They are all specialists in their own right. It's a lot of fun.
So then Pilates came up like 30 years ago. I know it has been like in fashion for, I know probably since 20 years, but 30 years, that's amazing.
It comes and goes. It's been around for a long time. Joseph Pilates was around a long, long time ago. I was lucky enough to be able to learn from a couple of what they call Pilates elders, who are people who trained directly with Joseph Pilates. In the Pilates world, that you sort of trace a lineage of Pilates, sort of an oral tradition, much like dance would be. And different people gleaned different information from what they learned from Joseph Pilates and carried it on in their own ways. So as I was saying to a colleague the other day, I'm sort of a third generation or fourth generation Pilates teacher. It sort of comes and goes in fashion. When I was doing it early on, it seemed kind of new, but it was also something that was getting some attention in the media. I still remember vividly a Vogue article that had naked models draped across a piece of Pilates equipment. And I thought, oh yeah, that's what it's all about.
Yeah. It looks so elegant and light.
Yes.
And yeah.
Yeah. So it comes and it goes, but I really think it's super helpful for functional movement, for really getting you in touch with your body, for whole body movement. If you're an athlete or someone who's training in a particular way a lot of the time, it's helpful to kind of shake things up and strengthen you in other ways as well. If you're someone who sits at a desk all day long, it really opens you up and helps you to sort of counteract all the compressive forces of sitting at a desk all day long.
Well, welcome to the club. They say sitting is the new smoking. We all know when we're on those Zoom meetings and you're sitting way too much.
Yeah. Yeah. And I don't know that it's just the sitting itself. It's just that we're not moving for that period of time. Standing for long periods of time can be problematic too. Talk to any cashier at a grocery store. The idea is that we need varied movement as much as we can get. So if you're sitting at your desk, we got to program those breaks in instead of putting Zoom after Zoom after Zoom after Zoom. You need to put a little space in there to move around sometimes.
They call that the Pomodoro, like the timer. So you work 45 minutes and then you do something for 15 minutes and you go back. And also the brain needs a little break.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Movement helps us think better. The way the brain moves in a sort of cross-patterning kind of way when you move around really helps to refresh your thinking, your executive function, your memory, all of it.
All of it. And the decision making. I'm a runner, and I always think like when I run, not maybe much more, but when I run, the decision making, the thinking, the planning is much better than when I don't run. And obviously also the happiness. So I think it's the Pilates. You mention it in a way that people come there and maybe they're injured or they don't know what to do with their body, but you kind of like open up. And this brings also happiness to the people.
I think so. Happiness and confidence. You start to feel like you can do the things and maybe you were having a hard time doing. Even when people are just coming for general fitness, so much of the time now it's focused on really just get down to your strength training. And yes, absolutely, strength training is important, but there are foundations in the body that need to be present. And if they're not there and you go from sitting at your desk for 8 hours a day to trying to lift really heavy things, there might be some issues along the way. So I don't know that it's always about, I say it as problem solving just because there are all kinds of things that happen in a body that even when you're looking at performance enhancement of one kind or another, we're looking for those nuances in movement that can improve, whether it's even just general fitness. If you could have more strength with less struggle, that would probably be a good thing.
I remember when I started weightlifting and strength training during my marathon years, huge difference. Because I knew where the mistakes were. And we know the runners, they don't have so much upper body, but you also need to train because you're moving your arms a lot. If you run 42 kilometers, it's a huge revelation. And I think it's people, yes, we need to, if you want to be a better runner, you need to run more, but you also need to strengthen some other parts. And it's mental, the mindset that also needs to change and that you are open for other sports. I think it's not just one sport that you should do. I'm also a triathlete, so I love that because I can say I can focus on 3 things, and it's actually the triathlon is a better way of training because you don't pound all the time. You're on the bike and you swim. That's a very good combination.
And I would imagine that you need different skills for each of those sections. You're using different skills as a runner than you're using when you're swimming than you're using on the bike. And being able to flip the switch in the process is really important.
Tell us a little bit about entrepreneurship. I always love to talk sports and then the entrepreneurship. What can we learn from the dancing? Obviously, there you need to be flexible, agile. And then as a Pilates instructor or even doing the Pilates yourself, what can we learn as an entrepreneur from you?
Wow. It's funny because I always think of myself as an accidental entrepreneur. This was not what I saw as my vision in life. I started out as an artist and that's what I was going to do. And in my head at the time, it was about sacrifice and it was about doing all the things I needed to do to be a beautiful performer and to be a strong performer and to live that kind of life. That was everything from eating disorders to difficulty. You had to create pretty strict boundaries of what you could do and when you went to bed and all of the things. I didn't do any of that very well. But there was a rigor to the artistry and to the training and to the work that went into trying to be the best performer and best dancer that I could be. And a certain degree of perfectionism, which I had to let go of. Really, I had to let go of. That took me a long time. But a certain level of accountability for your actions, for the choices that you make. I've carried that into my business. I try the best I can to live the values of my business, and my own values are my hope, the values of my business. I do what I can to make that evident and transparent. I guess moving into Pilates as a practice was relatively seamless in that it was another kind of training. It could be rigorous. It could be very specific. It could be very precise. I approached it in that way. It was interesting when I started working with other people's bodies as a Pilates teacher, recognizing that everybody has a different way of navigating their own bodies and their own movement and a different idea of what work will look like and a different capacity. And so for me, again, sort of letting go of some of the rigorous ideas that I had about what this should be, really changed. And you can still ask for the best that someone has to give on a given day, but you're not expecting ridiculous things from people. I'm not saying this particularly eloquently, but I think just recognizing that everybody is different and everybody has a different reason for being there and a different reason for doing it and different expectations about what will come out on the other side of having done this thing, and meeting people wherever they are.
I love that. Everybody is different, and meeting the people where they are, because I'm a running coach. We can say, oh, you need to run at the 8-minute pace. Well, what if somebody cannot run there or that fast? So this is useless. Meet the people where they are. It goes in business, in sports, everywhere.
And just finding those places, because a lot of the time then you find a whole new language. You know, when you can hear where that other person is and you understand where they're coming from, then it's less about the technique itself and it's more about how they get what they want out of it.
And maybe modify it a little bit, like...
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Modifications, changes, shifts in perspective, even in terms of things like imagery around how you approach a kind of movement. Somebody may relate to very specific anatomical imagery. I had a doctor once who I was giving all kinds of flowery language. He sort of looked at me and said, "No, honey, thanks for the lovely imagery, but can you just give me the anatomy?" And then we could figure it out. He could hear what I had to say. He couldn't hear me talking about relaxing into the floor like you're a pat of butter melting on a warm pan. He just was like, "What are you talking about?"
Not for me. I need to
not
be the
for me.
scientific approach. But
But
the same
people...
in coaching. If you have somebody who's colorful and likes the flowery stuff, you go there. And if you have somebody who's like talking fast, thinking fast, you cannot go to the flowers. Even though sometimes they need that as well. We have to see, right?
Well, you pick your moment. If they need the flowers, you find the moment where you could slip one little flower in there, and maybe they hear it differently than if you present them with the field of flowers and all they want is
it's too much for them. Let's talk a little bit about your team. How many people do you have? How does that look like?
We're not a huge team. Right now, I have 3 other teachers working with me. They each have loads of experience in their own right and have been teaching Pilates as well as other kinds of movement modalities over the years. And that's one of the things I love, is when you find people who not only have knowledge of the technique and the movement and the method, they also have experience in their own bodies. Right now, all of them have a background in dance. That wasn't intentional, but it happened. But they have experience in other kinds of movement as well. They are experienced in different kinds of sport, different kinds of movement and different activities and other movement modalities as well as Pilates. So I have one teacher who works with the Franklin method, and this is a method of embodiment and imagery, and it's a science, neuroscience, and it's working with imagery and sort of changing the mind to change the body, a different way of inhabiting the body. Another one works with a technique called Eldoa, which is about kind of working with the fascia of the body, which is sort of a network of tensile connective tissue. We can find ways to sort of learn from each other all the time and bring some of those ahead to our clients. And then people can also just work in one method if they decide that's what they want to do.
Very cool. So you're offering a whole variety of what Pilates can offer you. What do you do when you don't work or work out? Is there anything else that you add to your busy plate?
Oh, I love lots of things. I love to hike. I love to be outside in nature. And so I try and get a hike in quite regularly. The weather's getting a little bit better now, so I like to be out on the water where we live by the ocean, paddleboarding and kayaking, swimming in the ocean. All of these things are things I love to do. I still love to go to dance performances and theater performances and get together with friends. And I've recently taken up rug hooking.
What is that?
It's a punch rug hook. You have a frame, it's got a design on it, and you're punching wool into it to make a design. And it was something that I picked up, believe it or not, during the pandemic. But I find it one of those things when I just need to settle my brain down and when your brain's going a million miles a minute and just a little bit of creativity. It's quiet. It's repetitive enough that it just simmers things down and relaxes me. And it's quite fun.
Sounds like fun. Wow. So let's stop at this relaxing moment. But thank you for giving us a glimpse from your dance to the Pilates to the creativity and the hikes outside. Thank you so much and good luck with everything.
Thanks so much for having me, Suzanne. Appreciate it.
What are you taking away from this conversation? Let's get moving. Don't sit all the time or get the Pomodoro, 45 minutes sitting, 15 minutes up, move around. Take it from the Ironwoman. We have episodes every Monday. Come and join us, learn with others, grow with others, ask questions. And Take It from the Ironwoman is also the book Global Business Coaching with Sports Parallels. Download it or get it in your local bookstore. And also write a review, like us, on the platform you're listening to this podcast. Thank you for your support and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.